everybody, my name is Nate the Effing Great. Welcome to another special edition of the Game Changer, guys. You can always find us on Spreaker.com as well as YouTube, iHeartRadio. Guys, I am here doing this in the wake of a disappointing Raw, but I'm not here to talk about that. I'm actually here to give you guys a little bit of a preview of what you could expect with the 12 Days of Booking series that I did last year, and it was a lot of fun to do. And now, this year, I'm going to continue to do it. I've already got some great ideas regarding movies, comics, even some wrestling-related ones, no surprise there. So to give you guys a little bit of a preview of that, I thought it'd be really cool to do one that was actually suggested to me during a live deal that we did for the, I believe it was the Evolution show, that's right. Chad and I were doing an Evolution review show, and during that I suggested a couple of ideas, and one that was suggested was December to Dismember. Now, of course, this was, of course, suggested by Mr. Fretz, the legend. Thank you, sir. This was the only ECW pay-per-view other than the ECW One Night Stand events that took place under the WWE, deal. So this was their chance to try and do something different, but the problem was that they suffered kind of the same thing that a lot of pay-per-views nowadays do, and that was they had to basically follow up in the wake of Survivor Series, as well as they had to deal with the fact that a few weeks later they had Armageddon going on. So unfortunately, it was one of those things where it was in a really bad place, and I don't know what they were thinking about this, but it was one of those shows that unfortunately did not do that well. It was actually one of the lowest grossing things that WWE done up until 2014 when they did the network deal. So this was one of those events that stood out for almost, that's like 7-8 years roughly before they had something like this again. So let's look back and talk about what made ECW December to Dismember very lackluster, and how, if I was given the power of booking, I would have done it better. So we look at the event itself. They had a dark match at the beginning, in which you had Steven Richards versus Rene Dupree. Steven Richards would pick up the victory, and during this time, Rene Dupree had tried to do this all-American type deal. He dropped his French accent. He was all clean-cut. Maybe he wasn't doing an American thing. He was just kind of looking like this Playboy model or something like this. So, Playgirl for guys, I'm sorry. But it was just a really weird thing to see him try and do. It just didn't make any sense whatsoever. So, he lost to Steven Richards. One of the matches that was heavily promoted for this event was the Hardy Boys take on Eminem. The Hardy Boys would pick up the victory. This was actually, I think, the longest match other than the main event in the entire card, which is saying something, and that also explains why the show ended earlier than it normally would last. There was a matchup in which we saw Balls Mahoney defeat Matt Striker in a Matt Striker rules match, and basically Matt Striker did this deal where he did like a clean-cut deal where he said, no aerial stuff, no weapons, no cursing, no swearing, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. It's kind of one of those things where he basically was trying to, make the odds unfavorable to Balls Mahoney. So that obviously didn't work out, and it was kind of a waste. We had Elijah Burke and Sylvester Terkay taking on FBI, Little Guido and Tony Mamaluke, and of course Trinity was at ringside. Not really too much to say about this. It only lasted about 6 minutes, almost 7, but it is what it was. They also had Daivari defeating Tommy Dreamer, and after that, Tommy Dreamer got that chokeslam powerbomb on the ramps. This was one of those matches that made absolutely no sense to have on there. It was just one of those things where it's like, oh, hey, we got Daivari, so I guess whatever. I don't know. Then we had the mixed tag team matchup, which was definitely a dumpster fire of a matchup, in which we had Ariel and Kevin Thorne defeating Kelly Kelly and Mike Knox, because this was the time where Mike Knox was breaking off things with Kelly Kelly, and, it's just really, really weird. It was a weird matchup. Then we had the main event matchup, which was the Extreme Elimination Chamber match, which featured the Big Show defending against CM Punk, Hardcore Holly, Rob Van Dam, Test, and Bobby Lashley. And in the end, Bobby Lashley overcame the odds and became the new ECW World Champion. And that's how it ended. It was one of those events that just left a really bad taste in your mouth. And mainly it had to do with the fact that everything on here was just sorely made. There was no development in character. There was no development in stories. There was just absolutely nothing. And obviously there was a lot of backstage politics on how the main event was going to be. And it just really sucks because there was so much that they could do for that. I mean, Paul Heyman definitely wanted CM Punk to go over. Vince McMahon was like, no, we have to put Bobby Lashley over because he's big and strong and muscular, blah, 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 blah. And apparently they didn't want to put the World Championship on him. I don't know. I would have had him on SmackDown be the one to dethrone King Booker, but they apparently had a better story with Batista involved. I don't know. It's really weird how they decided that. But that being said, the question is, how do you take all of this and make it something better or even something just even salvageable? Okay, so how would I have booked 2006 December to Dismember? So first of all, I would not change two things. One, I wouldn't change the fact that they would have the promoted tag match between Eminem and the Hardys. That's a good way to do it. And I also wouldn't have changed anything about the Extreme Elimination Chamber, including the fact that Sabu was advertised for it and they just replaced him with Hardcore Holly. There's a reason behind that, and I will explain it. So I would kick it off the same way. I would have Eminem and the Hardy Boys definitely get the feeling going, get everything just started, basically being like, hey, come into the pool, it's nice and warm, we're going to get things started. But the thing is, I would have Eminem go over in this tag team matchup. The reason being is because a lot of times in wrestling, people really just love rivalries, and the thing is that the good guys always seem to win the first one, and then it's just like, well, they've already won, so what's the point of having a rematch? What's the point of having this kind of deal? And unfortunately, weeks later, Joey Mercury would suffer a debilitating injury, unfortunately. But it is one of those things that we can have, possibly be avoided because we don't need that to happen. I mean, I think that the Hardy Boys were on Raw, so why weren't they competing for the Raw tag team titles? And why? I think Johnny Nitro was also on Raw. It's one of those things where it was really weird that they did this. But that being said, I would actually have Eminem go over on this matchup. Again, it starts things off very interestingly, and a lot of people wouldn't see that because when they're going into this event, they're expecting, oh, the Hardy Boys are going to win. The Hardy Boys are going to win. This is Eminem's first match back together as a team. You can't just have them lose to the Hardy Boys, right then and there. But I think I also would make the argument that the Hardy Boys were also reuniting during that time, so they wanted to build some momentum for that. It just makes more sense, because then you can actually have a story going on there with Eminem and with the Hardys, and they could build up to a possible tag team title feud in the future. I would think that would be kind of nice. But, right here, we're building up credible stars, and we're building up the credibility, again, that is Eminem. Because if you look on the storyline records in real life, Eminem lost to the Hardy Boys 3 times in major pay-per-views, so at least give him this one victory, and then maybe there's like a rubber match at a future event. But definitely have that as kind of like the starting point. Now you have to focus on having other stars really start building up and becoming, bona fide stars, like I said. And one of those stars that I really enjoyed in the new ECW was Kevin Thorne. Now, here's the thing that they made a big mistake on. I think pairing him with the New Breed was definitely one of those things that he just did not need whatsoever. If anything, I kind of want him to be like the mysterious one on ECW. You don't know what he's going to do. You don't know if he's going to be a face. You don't know if he's going to be a heel. He's kind of just doing these things because it's what he feels is right, and it's one of those things that him and his, victim, I guess you could say, Ariel, kind of agree on. So it's kind of one of those things. So we build up a feud between him and Steven Richards. And it makes sense because you have Steven Richards, who's definitely an ECW veteran, but also Steven Richards has been on a little bit of a roll. You know, he's doing that whole, he's bringing back the DDT, he's doing the Stevie kick, everything like that. We're getting classic Steven Richards in here. And honestly, it's one of those things where you could actually build something off on this because of the fact that you have to remember a couple of years ago, I think it was actually in 2005, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think it was the previous year. They reintroduced the BWO. We're kind of doing something like that where we're bringing back the BWO into ECW. And there's a reason behind that, of course, because I will explain that a little bit later on. But in this matchup, Kevin Thorne and Steven Richards go maybe a solid, I would say, 10 minutes. Steven Richards is just about to pick up the victory with the Stevie T. 1, 2, Ariel gets Kevin Thorne's foot on the bottom rope. The referee says, nope, don't, not close. Steven Richards, of course, goes after Ariel, but then runs into a clothesline from Kevin Thorne, hits the crucifix bomb for the 1, 2, 3. We continue that feud with Steven Richards with Kevin Thorne. You get an impressive showing there, and we have to avoid that car wreck that was, of course, the mixed tag team match. So, next matchup on here, I would have still be advertised as a tag team matchup between Sylvester Terkay and Elijah Burke taking on the FBI, but I would have Rene Dupree, as soon as the bell is just about to ring, come out, and he says, well, I talked to Paul Heyman, and we've inserted ourselves into this matchup thanks to his blessing. Now people are thinking, well, who could he possibly be choosing? The person he chose was recruited from SmackDown because of the draft, Sylvain Grenier. Now obviously, I know that Sylvain actually suffered a bit of an injury, and they did try to do this later on in the ECW regime, but I would have Sylvain Grenier go to ECW and work with Rene Dupree because of the fact that La Resistance was one of the best teams of all time. In my opinion, especially in WWE, they were definitely one of the best heat magnets when it came down to it, so you definitely need to have a great heel team to combat in this. So in this matchup, it is indeed a triple threat tag, and we're kind of using ECW as a platform to build up tag teams that a lot of people might not see. So we're building up these teams. We re-energize, La Resistance, but in the end, the FBI pick up the victory by pinning Elijah Burke. After that match finishes up, La Resistance attacks the FBI. They hit maybe a new tag team maneuver. I kind of like the au revoir, or maybe they do that double tandem front slam or choke slam, whatever they did before. But you're basically also building up a storyline between La Resistance as well as the FBI. Maybe they can make this into like a little bit of a World War deal. It's basically the Italians versus the French. It makes sense. You have the snobby French that are always thinking like they're better than everybody, and then you have the Italians that are just, tough little bastards. So you build that up, and honestly, it would be kind of cool, actually, more than I think about it. Then we get into a bit of a squash matchup. We have the Great Khali coming back, and he defeats a local competitor. Just one of those things where, Taz and Joey Styles can just hype him up as this gargantuan of a man, and basically, he, maybe even Joey Styles has that classic, oh my god moment where he does, the double choke slam once, twice, maybe even like 3 times. And the referee might call for the bell. It's just one of those things where Great Khali just wrecks somebody. And I don't feel safe with doing that with somebody on the ECW roster because it's just one of those things where you'll just feed another person. But yeah, have Great Khali kind of build up into that. And then you can kind of build up to having Great Khali versus Bobby Lashley later on down the road. It would be kind of a cool matchup if you build it right. So this is the only other matchup I would have hyped up, building up to this event here. Obviously, you have the tag match, you have the Extreme Elimination Chamber matchup. This is the only other matchup I would really focus on really prepping people up because of the fact that it's a classic ECW matchup, and that is an ECW rules match featuring the Sandman versus Tommy Dreamer. And literally, this is one of the matches that you let them go a whole 15, 20 minutes. And they, of course, just tear the house down. You know, you have tables, you have ladders, you have chairs, you have kendo sticks. You do everything here. You're basically just doing a lot of these matches. And you can even have classic ECW references between the two of them, where maybe Tommy Dreamer is mentioned to deal with the whole, you know, caning from Sandman, and Sandman doing the whole blind thing. You talk about the history between the two of them. You're bringing that familiarity that people would be interested, invested in. You can then have people be like, oh wow, they battle against each other. Well, obviously they had the WWE On Demand series. You kind of build that up. This is kind of one of those matches where you see, wow, they had a good match here. So what can we expect from ECW On Demand? In the end, I would have Tommy Dreamer indeed go over in this one. They would definitely have maybe like one, maybe two more matches after this one. But this is one of those matches where they're just saying, hey, we want to relive the old ECW days. We're proving that we are hardcore, that we are indeed the heart and soul of what ECW is all about. So, you definitely have that deal there. And it looks like Sandman is going to cane Tommy Dreamer. But he puts the kendo stick down, and he actually extends his hand to Tommy Dreamer. Both of them shake hands, and they even share like a little bit of a hug, just share an embrace. It's kind of one of those like feel-good ECW moments where it's like, wow, we're reliving history here, but we're also creating a new memory here. I mean, there could be a lot of spots here that could work, where you have maybe Sandman do like a top rope candlestick Russian leg sweep, or maybe Tommy Dreamer does that Death Valley Driver off the second rope, something like that. You know, they're celebrating, both are raising their hands up. In the midst of this, we have the debut of Marcus Corvon. He comes out and he attacks both the Sandman and Tommy Dreamer, who are literally just wiped out. He hits him with a dual clothesline. We get that kind of the fall-away slam-like thing into a powerbomb that he does, which is really an awesome move. And he hits the pounce on the Sandman. Basically, he is just stating the fact that he is here to make, you know, ECW his home, and he's going to be there to just... And it'd be really one of those things where you make a memorable debut. You got a great, you know, new heel involved here, and you just build it up there. And honestly, you guys, this is one of those things where I would still keep Marcus Corvon as one of the members of the New Breed. The thing is that I would still keep that going into WrestleMania. The only thing I would change is, instead of Kevin Thorne, I would have Sylvester Terkay. And even in the midst of this, you could have Kevin Thorne kind of be on the fence about it. But then in the end, you know, he's just doing it for himself. He's not for ECW. He's not for New Breed. He's just kind of his own man. It's just one of those things that it would work out perfectly. Because then you have somebody who's just neutral, who's just like, I don't take sides, I do things my way. I just think that'd be kind of cool. After this, I would have a matchup between Mike Knox and Balls Mahoney. Kelly Kelly is at ringside, and you definitely do sense a little bit of tension between Kelly Kelly and Mike Knox. It's one of those things that it's been building on for the last few weeks. It stems from Survivor Series. Mike Knox, he feels foolish, he feels humiliated. And it's just one of those things where he's just, you know, he even says, like, I would have been one of the most dominant people in that matchup had you not gotten involved. And Kelly is just, you know, pleading, saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. And, you know, you still see a little bit of anger, but he does not hit her. He does not do that. I know a lot of people like this, you know, men-on-women violence, but I want it to make sense, and I don't want it to be one of those things where she just is a complete damsel in distress. I want to create a legitimate storyline here, and that's what we're doing. So, during this matchup, Mike Knox actually picks up the victory, but after the match is over, he just continues to beat down on Balls Mahoney so much that it costs him the matchup. He literally just, you know, says well, maybe not that, because that didn't make sense. So let me backtrack just a little bit. So he basically Kelly Kelly gives Mike Knox brass knuckles, much to her chagrin. Mike Knox uses that to beat Balls Mahoney, and just before they're celebrating, and then Kelly, you know, she has a little bit of a change of heart. She actually informs the referee that, hey, my boyfriend used brass knuckles. He should not be the victor here. it's kind of one of those things where you kind of see the personality really show out here with Kelly Kelly, where she is a good-hearted, woman. And, they reverse the decision. Balls Mahoney picks up the victory. Mike Knox is, of course, just pissed about this. He's saying, I would have had the victory. Had you not used your kind-heartedness, I would have had the victory. He's just getting mad. It looks like he's about ready to attack Kelly Kelly. But Balls Mahoney, he gets involved, and he is just saying, don't you lay a finger on her. And Mike Knox is just like, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Balls Mahoney, boom, boom, beats him down. That massive spine buster that he does takes him down. And Balls Mahoney, he goes over and checks on Kelly Kelly. He just says, are you okay? Are you okay? And Kelly Kelly has this kind of conflicting face on here, because it's one of those stories where you build it up that Kelly Kelly has really only known one guy to really be good to him, and he still feels like Mike Knox is still good to him. He doesn't hit him, but she's just very nervous with venturing out and meeting other guys. Now, obviously, that'd be kind of weird because of the fact that, she is an exhibitionist and she's seen a lot of people and blah, 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 blah. But it's just one of those things where, somebody like Balls Mahoney who's actually kind of being nice to her and not really focusing on, her assets and everything like that. It's one of those things where it's different for her. So you kind of build up a story there where Balls Mahoney is basically trying to say, you don't need to put up with Mike Knox. You don't need to do that. And Mike Knox is trying to, build up. He's basically just saying, no, you need to stay with me because I'm the best thing that's for you. And it builds up to a deal where Kelly Kelly just stands up for herself. That's what I really would want to come out of this. That, it's not cool to have this kind of, verbal harassment, verbal abuse coming from somebody that, and it's just one of those things where it just makes sense. Then you can have Mike Knox do his own thing. Kelly Kelly will definitely be more favorable than just a pretty face and just, nice boobs, I guess. You're building up a personality for her. That's kind of the reason behind that. And you're also giving Balls Mahoney a story because everybody loves Balls Mahoney. He's a good guy. So, we go on to the main event. So, how would I book the Extreme Elimination Chamber? Well, like I said before, I would not change anything. I would definitely have a deal where Sabu has been assaulted beforehand, and basically, it's one of those things where Paul Heyman's like, oh no, Sabu has been taken out. Whatever will we do? And of course, he names a replacement, and that being Hardcore Holly. That's what I definitely would do. Now, for the first two men that I would have in this matchup, I would not have it be CM Punk and I think it was Hardcore. No, it wasn't CM. No, it wasn't. It was Rob Van Dam and Hardcore Holly, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's who it was. So, in this matchup, I would actually have CM Punk and the Big Show definitely start off. So definitely keep what Paul Heyman had there. I would still have that. The thing is, I would not have it be a believable situation that CM Punk beats the Big Show in 3-4 minutes, whatever it was, to the next pod opens up. I would not have that. It just really doesn't make too much sense. So you need to build up a little bit of credibility in this matchup. So Big Show, just taking out Punk. Punk is not, giving up that easily. Now, up next in this matchup, Rob Van Dam. He comes out and he is, he's got the steel chair. He's doing the Van Dam in there. He's doing all these things. Looks like he's about to eliminate the Big Show, but nope, not able to do that. Next match. In this matchup, we have Hardcore Holly. He gets involved. And then we have Test get in. And Lashley is the last one to be in this matchup. So we have all 6 participants in this matchup. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Because obviously Big Show is going to be the biggest threat in this matchup. Basically, we have a situation where Big Show has Hardcore Holly and Test on his side. But then they both kind of look at each other. They look at Big Show. They look at each other again. And they realize that in order to become ECW champion, they can't just ignore Big Show. So while they're beating them down, we then see Hardcore and Test turn on Big Show. They beat him down. Big Show is basically, just trying his hardest to, fight back. Then we get another Van Daminator by Rob Van Dam. Big Show is just dazed, and then Test would hit the elbow. Not the elbow, the big boot to Big Show. He's dazed again. He's on the ropes. Hardcore Holly's able to get Big Show up on the ropes and do that crotch kick deal that he does there. So Big Show, again, he is just now just in a lot of pain. He's in the bottom corner. No, he's in the top corner. That's right. He's in the corner. CM Punk runs. He does 1, 2, 3 running knees into the corner. Test does another big boot. Big Show goes down. We see Rob Van Dam hit the Van Terminator on Big Show. Big Show is just barely able to get up. He's just basically using like every single fiber of his being just to stand. Then we see Lashley, boom, hits a spear on Big Show. Rob Van Dam, 5-star frog splash. Test hits an elbow, and everybody's just lied down. Punk is barely able to roll into a cover. 1, 2, 3. Big Show is eliminated by CM Punk, and we are guaranteed a new ECW champion. So it basically took everything that they could to beat the Big Show. Big Show, of course, he's on the outside. He's just trying to get back his composure, and then he rips the door open, comes in, chokeslam to everybody. Spinning big boot, chokeslam, chokeslam, chokeslam. He's just wrecking everybody, and he's just making it basically a situation where he's like, I'm the biggest man, I got screwed, blah, 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 blah. He's just showing that he's a pissed off giant. Then he walks out, and he's just, again, he's pissed. During this matchup, we have a table set up, and it looks like Rob Van Dam is going to hit it on Test. He's going to go for the 5-star frog splash, but Hardcore Holly stops him, crotches him. He grabs Hardcore Holly, grabs Rob Van Dam, picks him up, Alabama slam through the table. 1, 2, 3. Rob Van Dam has been eliminated. So now you have intense heat between Hardcore Holly, and it also builds up the matchup that they would have on ECW later on down the line. Hopefully we don't have that situation where he does that superplex deal on the outside and he had that massive scar on his back. That sends chills. That is just so rough. Or maybe that happened a few weeks ago. I don't even remember now, because that was just a crazy matchup. So of course we have Test, Hardcore Holly, Lashley, and CM Punk. These 4 men are just battling it out, battling out. Test accidentally hits the big boot on Hardcore Holly. Lashley hits a spear to Test. He goes to cover Hardcore. 1, 2, 3. Lashley defeats Hardcore Holly. And Test, of course, he goes for the big boot on Lashley. Hits it on CM Punk. Lashley ducks. Whoop, boom. Another spear by Lashley on Test. 1, 2, 3. So we are down to the final 2, which is CM Punk and Bobby Lashley. You have you have a rising up-and-comer and you have an established star battling against each other to determine who will be the ECW champion. And the fans will just be going electric. They're going to be thinking like, oh my gosh, we're getting a new champion guaranteed. And it could be somebody that we like or somebody we don't like. And the ECW crowd, they can definitely choose who they want for. They want to see either CM Punk or they want Bobby Lashley. You build up that kind of dramatic deal to where at first you're like, oh my god, we're getting a new ECW champion. This is going to be insane. And then, oh my god, they eliminated Rob Van Dam. Well, at least we still have CM Punk for a while. Yes, they eliminated Hardcore. Yes, they eliminated Test. Oh my god, we're getting this great matchup here. You're just building up that suspense. So CM Punk and Lashley, they definitely just go balls to the wall, just tear each other apart. We see them using the chairs. We see them using weapons. We see him laying it all out. CM Punk is able to get the Anaconda Vice on Bobby Lashley. He's trying so hard to make him tap. He's just wrenching and wrenching and wrenching. But and Lashley is able to power out. And CM Punk is just thinking, what the hell do I have to do to beat this guy? CM Punk basically goes for another corner. Inseguri, Shining Wizard, I should say. Lashley gets out of the way. CM Punk is dazed. Spear by Lashley. Both men are down. And Paul Heyman gets into the ring. And he is just looking at these two like, I hate both of these guys. I cannot believe that they are, the final two. You definitely don't deserve it. He basically has the two bodyguards come in. And he is ready. He starts to pick up CM Punk. And he basically has CM Punk. He holds him up. And he is just saying, you don't deserve to be champ. You don't deserve to be champ. But in the end, he actually extends his hand to CM Punk. CM Punk is looking a little bit confused here. CM Punk shakes Paul Heyman's hand, and he literally, and it's literally one of those deals where people are just like, oh shit, CM Punk is now a Paul Heyman guy. Lashley sees this, he is pissed, he's just ready, spears Paul Heyman, the two guys that are in their, the security guys, I should say, the Basham brothers, let's face it, that's who they are. They take down Lashley, Lashley's trying to fight back, he hits a spear on both of them, CM Punk hits a low blow on Lashley, and then we see him hit he doesn't quite hit the GTS yet, but instead he goes to the top rope. The two security guys, they pick him up. Lashley is getting set up. He does a double underhook, picks him up, wham! The Pepsi plunge on Bobby Lashley. CM Punk gets the cover. 1, 2, 3. Lashley has been slain. CM Punk is your new ECW champion, and we have a new top heel within the company. CM Punk wins the ECW title. CM Punk is going to be your next top guy, and obviously he's going to be feuding with Lashley. He's also going to be feuding a bit with Test. It's one of those things where you look at it and you think to yourself, it's an absolutely amazing moment. It ends at the final few minutes where CM Punk is celebrating with Paul Heyman on the top of the ramp, and Paul Heyman, he hugs him and he just says, now you deserve to be champion because you're a Paul Heyman guy. It's just one of those situations where basically Paul Heyman is the devil of ECW, and he is basically saying, you don't deserve to be champion unless you sign your soul away to me, the devil. And that's how I would book the ECW event December to Dismember. Honestly, it's a pretty good deal because you have new faces that are getting involved, you have storylines that are coming out of it, you have definitely a major tide in which you have CM Punk, who's a beloved babyface, now he's a heel with Paul Heyman. It's just one of those things where it makes sense, and honestly, you could have Big Show versus CM Punk on the next ECW, and it's one of those things where Paul Heyman, he seems all torn up about these two battling against each other, but he sides with CM Punk because he realizes that Big Show is not going to be here forever. CM Punk is the next generation, and he is going to be there for a long time. And honestly, I would set up a match between Lashley and CM Punk at WrestleMania for the ECW title. I think that would be kind of cool. Now, obviously, a lot of people might say, like, what does that mean for, the Trump Vince matchup? There's definitely a lot of other names that deserve to be in that spot. Lashley was just one of those guys that, he was already impressive. He was already built like that. He just did not need to have that kind of deal. He needed to be working with other guys that would help elevate him, and he can elevate others. So, honestly, I would have CM Punk still be the ECW champion all the way to WrestleMania. And I think it'd make a feel-good moment. They basically keep screwing him. Lashley gets that feel-good moment in Detroit where he beats CM Punk for the ECW championship. So that's how I would book ECW December to Dismember. Do you like it? Did you not like the event that I have posted up? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Definitely know where to find us to listen to all the great episodes. And also, you guys, be sure to follow me on Twitter at RealEffingGame. There's so much that's going to be going on this month alone. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic month. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.